Okay. Good morning, man. I tell you what, Debbie and I made a trip to Missouri. We left Friday afternoon, went to a wedding Saturday morning, and then we're back. So don't feel sorry for us. We got back early. Debbie hijacked one of the airport people, I don't know who they are, said, and got us on an earlier flight. And so we got here in plenty of time. So that was good. So we appreciate it. A couple of things I want to tell you about before I forget. Number one is that we are having a baptism service on the last Sunday of this month. But we're not going to have it here. We've got some people that are, a little hesitant or physical ailments doesn't let them get into the tub because we use one of those really fancy baptismals most people call them horse troughs. We call them baptism stored in there. But we're going to use a pool with steps where they can easily get down into the pool at Al's and Julie's house. So, and then Gene and Bob are going to get baptized. So now, if there's anybody else in that same situation who would like to join them, let me know. Come and talk. We'll visit a little bit and put that in place. But that's the last Sunday this month. It'll be in the afternoon. I forget what time I put down, but anyway, that afternoon on Sunday. So be good. Let's see. What else am I thinking of? I don't remember. Something about three things. What was it? Let me tell you three things real quick. Number one, I want you to know that God loves you. I also want you to know that He wants to have a close, personal relationship with each and every one of us. It is so good to have the God of all the universe, the creator of all things, that loves us and wants to have a close, personal relationship with us. But He also wants to partner with us to do something special, which He has so much and so much of the time, and He's done with us as well. So now we want to go to Lord in prayer, and we have many things in our church to be prayerful about. In fact, Claudia's been in the emergency room a couple of times the last week with some hard AFib stuff, so I want to keep her in prayer. But we have many others who have several things taking place. Those who are dealing with cancers, those dealing with treatments, and those who are just have some other physical ailments taking place, back problems, and just the list goes on. And so we want to lift you up in prayer as well. And the Lord knows each one, loves each one, and you know some of those ones. So as we go to Lord in prayer, you lift up the person that you know about that is in need of a touch from the Lord, and we'll all pray together. But also we want to remember those who have the spiritual need, for there are many. Those who are friends or family or acquaintances or whoever it is you know of, that needs a touch from the Lord in knowing more about Him and being able to, and joining the family. Because we want everybody to join our family, right? We really do. So let's go to Lord in prayer for these things. Father, we thank You for this time You've given to us. We thank You for the opportunity to be together and be in Your house and to sing these worship songs to You, for You are worthy of all glory and honor and praise. And we ask that You would receive it in the spirit that it was given. But we also ask, Lord, You would just anoint Your word and go forth, that it was touch all of us, drawing us closer to You. But we particularly ask that You would just move in a very special way of those who are not a part of the family, those who are outside of the knowledge and the belief and faith in You, and ask You to draw them in. Draw them in as they realize how much You love them, how much You want to have a close personal relationship with them. We also ask that You would just touch those with a physical need, that Your will be done with every case. But we ask You would remove the cancers, You would remove the pain, You would remove the anguish, You would remove the anxieties, You would remove all that keeps us from being all that we can be for You. Ultimately, we wish that we are physically, emotionally, and spiritually well, that we could be greater witnesses for You. For we ask it in Jesus' holy name. Amen. All righty. We are back in the Gospel of Mark. We took a break last week to take a look at, a role of God in our country, which was good. But now we're back in Mark chapter 6. And when I was reading over this chapter, another verse popped into my mind from Ecclesiastes. Now, I know that many of you probably don't spend much time in that book. It is written by Solomon in his older age as he's looking back on life. And I know Solomon is, he was accredited for being the most wealthy person ever, also having an extremely high intellect, which he did. He did have. Some people call him the wisest man. I don't know that I agree with the wisest man, because there was a period in his life and he let the women in his wife draw him into idol worship, so that's not very wise. But other than that, it was really good. But when you go to the book of Ecclesiastes and you start to read it, you have to remember that Solomon is looking back, and the book itself has a little bit of, well, it's just depressing sometimes. But because what it is Solomon is coming to the conclusion that no matter who you are, no matter what you do, everybody dies. And that really, really, really annoys him. It just does. So in the verse I'm going to read, Ecclesiastes 1, verse 9, has kind of that undertone as well. Because in Ecclesiastes 1, it says, what has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Right? Familiar verse. So now today we might look at Solomon, if we had a chance to talk to him, and we'd say, there's been a few new things happen since 940 BC. We don't use fire to light our homes anymore. We don't use clay pots for toilets. And and by the way, we can get from Jerusalem to Cairo, Egypt in less than an hour. I'm sure he would go, you do what? Oh yeah, we can. How do you do that? We fly. Can you imagine? That's not even talking about television, internet, cell phones, and people walking on the moon. Now, to his credit, he wasn't talking about new inventions. He was talking about from generation to generation, everything just kind of seems the same. The sun comes up, the sun goes down, the seasons come, the seasons go, and then it repeats. And it keeps happening. And also, with every generation, people are always going to be people, right? So that's really what he's kind of referring to. Now, when we apply that to Mark chapter 6, we see the repeating from generation to generation aspect of people's difficulty in trying to realize who the Creator is and what the obedience is to follow that Creator. It always comes down to every generation always comes down to understanding the difference between what is temporary and what is eternal. We want to hang on to the temporary so much, right? It's always been the case in every generation. And why is that is the question. Well, I can tell you some reasons why it's not that way, or some reasons why, I don't know, how do I word that? How can I say that? Some reasons, anyway, let me go forward. It's not because of a lack of information. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not because we haven't been told. The information has been given to us over centuries. It was given to us in written word. Even sometimes that word was written on stone. And then from there, and that was given to well over 1 million people. And then after that, he had all this line of prophets who showed up and said, hey, remember that written stuff? You got to get back to that. Come back to following the Lord when he expects this obedience thing to take place. Then we had the prophets. Then we had the Son of God himself showed up to teach us and to show us what God is like. And then today we have all that history to draw from, as well as so many teachers who are teaching the Bible, what God has said throughout these centuries and millennia that's taking place. But still, with every generation, we have the same attitude, which is, oh, well, that was back then. Not now. It was back then, not now. But the fact is, it doesn't really change. To me, it always comes down to the barter system. The barter system where he has something I want, he has something of mine that he wants. And so, what does it take to trade? Here's what he offers. He says, you know what? I've got a paradise in which it never ends. And if you are there, if I let you into my paradise, it lasts forever. You'll never be hot. You'll never be cold. You'll never be sick. You'll never get old. Can I hear an amen? You'll never have any physical ailment. I like that one. You will not grow old. You won't lose your strength. You'll never hear another lie. Oh, wouldn't that be good? Yeah. You can have all of that if you're willing to give me your life now. Which means I will determine what is right and wrong. I will give you some instructions on how to live your life. I will expect you to do that. And so basically you're giving me your life now in order to have that life later. So do you want to trade is what the question is. It's taking place. Now, I took a long explanation to say all that. I want to give you what Jim Elliot said, because he put it in a sentence that I thought was so perfect. Now, Jim Elliot was a missionary to Ecuador who went to reach this people group in the jungles of Ecuador who were very brutal, primitive, headhunter type of people, that every time anybody had tried to communicate with these people, they ended up not coming back home. But he had a burden to go and reach these people back in the 1950s. And they kept telling him, don't go, don't go, don't go. It's not worth the risk, all these different kind of things. So everywhere he and his two buddies went, where they tried to promote this gospel message they wanted to get to them and the resources to do it, trying to raise those resources, everybody would say, why are you doing this? Why are you taking this risk? And he always said the same thing. Here's what he said. He is no fool who gives up what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. Did you catch that? He is no fool who gives up what he cannot keep, the temporary, to gain what he cannot lose, the eternal. I thought that was brilliant. And so they went, the three of them went to the jungles of Ecuador to reach this thing, and it's a long story I won't go into, but it comes down to they were all killed. After they were able to infiltrate with the gospel. But now, because they did, now that people group is being witnessed to constantly. In fact, we have a family from Missouri there right now who is sharing and teaching the gospel to them. So that is just an amazing story. So it's not about a lack of information, nor is it a lack of proof, because the proof has always been there. God sent these messengers to tell them, if you don't come back to me, this is going to happen. And then it would happen because they said, who cares? But every time we see the stories of the prophets and Isaiah and Jeremiah and all these things, they always just ignored them, pushed them back. Sometimes they beat them, sometimes they jailed them, like Jeremiah, they took him and tied him up and then lowered him into a cistern, sewer tank, up to his hip. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? So all these things. But now we see in the Gospels, as Jesus is there, proving to them over and over and over again, with all these signs and wonders that he is doing, again, they're repeating, as Solomon says, kind of just stays the same. Many of the leaders of that day just want him dead, period. So it isn't because of lack of information, it isn't because of a lack of proof, and it isn't because of a lack of love by God. Because what is the message Jesus brings? That familiar verse, John 3:16, for God so loves the world that he gave his only begotten Son. But because God sends his Son in a way that was completely unexpected by the crowds and the leaders of that time, because he didn't come with an army from heaven, they could not accept him coming as a little boy, as a baby, born in a barn by a poor family in Nazareth, of all places. So, like the previous generations, they just ignored it. They ignored the information, they ignored the proof, and they ignored the love. So, here in chapter 6, we've got some people groups that Mark is going to show us how they viewed Jesus. So we'll take a look at that now, and he's going to start with those in his own hometown. Verse 1, chapter 6, in the book of Mark, it says, he went away and came to his hometown. His disciples followed him, and on the Sabbath he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were astonished, saying, Where did this man get these things? What is the wisdom given to him? How are such mighty works done by his hands? Look at verse 3. Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us? And they took offense at him. They took offense at him. So, as I said, because he didn't come in the way that they wanted him to come, because he didn't come with the armies of heaven as a Messiah to wipe out all the enemies, they're saying, no, this can't be him. We also read in some other places where Jesus' own family did not really grasp what was taking place. At least once, maybe twice, they were called upon by pressured from the Sanhedrin to go and get him and bring him home, not for a vacation, but to get him to stop doing these things. And we find in John chapter 7 where a conversation with his brothers, where we see the brothers are making fun of him. I'll show you what I mean. John chapter 7, verse 2 says this, "Now the Jews' feast of Booth was at hand. So his brothers said to him, 'Leave here and go to Judea, that your disciples also may see the works you are doing. For no one works in secret if he seeks to be known openly. If you do these things, show yourself to the world.'" But verse 5 says this, "For not even his brothers believed in him." Wow. Is that amazing? So I want you to know this. Jesus is dealing with the same things some of you are. He has dealt with the same things some of you are. I know there are some here in our own congregation who are separated from their families, not just by distance, but by conflict. And that conflict, for some that I know of, is because you have decided to live biblically rather than traditionally. And I want you to know that Debbie and I haven't been immune to that either. That does happen whenever you decide to live for Jesus. You're in good company because that has been happening for the last couple of thousand years and is going to continue to happen. But I want you to know that Jesus was not unaware of that because he told us beforehand this was going to happen. Not that he wants it to happen, but he told us it was going to happen. And we see that in Matthew chapter 10, how this belief and faith in Jesus was going to affect families. Matthew 10, verse 34 says this. It says, "Do not think that I have come to bring peace on the earth, for I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. And I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a person's enemies will be those of his own household." Nobody wants that, but it happens. And you realize it's going to happen because some people get it, the trading in the temporary for the eternal, and some people just don't, right? Those of us who get it, we're going, how can they not see this? It's an easy trade. I mean, you're trading just this little bit for everything that's taking place. But some people just don't grasp it. And when we start to tell them about it and talk about it, I don't know, something's just there. Well, let them take it. But with this passage here, Jesus explains that is going to happen, but then he continues on with this same passage and not only makes it a prophetic statement, but he also makes it a statement of allegiance. And understand, he dealt with this as well, even in his own family. Verse 37 says this, "Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." So we again see this concept of eternity over temporary. Let me ask this question. How many of you had or have strong-willed children or a strong-willed child? How many of you were the strong-willed? Oh, there's some that admitted. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. Well, as I said, we're not immune to that either. We have had one of those as well. In fact, let me share with you another one of my child parenting secrets. Kind of like when I taught my daughters to ride their bike. Our oldest one is our strong-willed child. And I remember when she was, I don't know, well, the first 12 years of her life, we lived in a house, small house, about 850 square feet, and it was heated by a wood stove. Not the pot-belly wood stoves, you think, but it's the kind that had the firebox and then an outer skin on that. So the outer skin can get warm, and sometimes it even gets hot if you really stoke it up, but it wasn't like one of those pot-belly things. And so when it gets a cold Missouri day, we got that thing going. I mean, it's putting out the heat. So when that happens, we have to say, now don't touch the wood stove. And what does she want to do? She wants to touch the wood stove because she has before when it wasn't, really hot. And we're saying, no, don't touch it, it's hot. Don't touch it, it's hot. And then you get this. You remember this? Right? You're not telling me what to do. So over and over, and I've even smacking her hands a few times. Don't touch the wood stove. So she's determined she's going to do it. So I say, okay, you want to touch it? Go ahead. Now remember, I told you not to. It took her like that long. Oh! Right? Here's what she says. Mama, Daddy hurt me. She's mad. Mama's not happy. The dog won't even come near me. So I guess we both made a decision that day, taking place. I don't know. I wish we had some younger people here. I'd have a parenting class. I'd help them out. But from God's point of view, so much of the time we are the strong-willed people, right? We're the ones that are not listening to good advice. We're the ones that are not listening to the wisdom that's coming from Him about how to have a better life, a more enjoyable life. Now, Mark doesn't just stop there with his hometown rejected him, and his family didn't really, understand what was taking place. It says, if you read all down through Mark, it says that King Herod thought he was a reincarnation of John the Baptist, and asking the people what's taking place. Well, he's one of the prophets reincarnated. He's Jeremiah, or he's one of the other. It's some kind of reincarnated thing. Let me tell you something. God doesn't do reincarnations. He can do better than that. He can actually scoop up people He wants to use later, take them to heaven with Him, and then use them thousands of years later. He's done that twice. So He doesn't need reincarnation. He can do better than that. But here's the thing. When God doesn't fit our expectations, we find it hard to believe in God at all, right? But what's the problem with that statement? My expectations. But when we realize that He does things beyond human explanation, it is time to believe in Him even if others do not. It comes down to, who do you say Jesus is? It's always going to come down to, who do you say Jesus is? Because every individual, at some point, we all choose our own friends, we choose our own spouses, we choose our own direction of life, and we choose our own faith individually. And so that's why I say it comes down to who you say Jesus is. Let me close this by telling you another family story. Not a parenting story. I grew up with an uncle that's 3 years older than I am. And more like a brother, because we were together a lot. We were at their house, I won't say every weekend, but a lot. We were there a lot. And Grandma and Grandpa had a little farm, a couple acres, large garden, some fruit trees, goats, chickens, all that kind of stuff. Whole lot of things that two guys could tear up repeatedly. So we were together a lot. We did a lot of things. We grew up together, all these different things. But Danny's a little different than the normal person. Danny was born with Down syndrome. And when you're born in 1955 in a town of just a few hundred, there wasn't anything for you. He didn't read, he didn't write, he didn't even speak clearly. A lot of times his siblings would call me or ask me what he's saying, because I knew I spent so much time with him. But as I got older, of course, I learned to drive, and Danny and we would go to the movies. He loved John Wayne. I love speaking to a crowd that knows who John Wayne is. I have told this story in other churches, and you've got, the younger folks are going, who's John Wayne? So I just say, ask your parents. Ask your parents. Love the Disney stories, particularly if they were animals. There were animals involved. And so we would go to those things and be a part of that. So now time grows on. I met this cute little redhead at high school. We got married and moved to Missouri. Grandma and Grandpa has passed away. Dad's in charge of Danny. And he puts him in a group home, which he loved. There was 5 other guys just like him all together. And the city gave them the opportunity to clean one street in town that was always, trash on it. They'd pay them a little bit. They didn't care how much it was. They just knew they were all rich. And so when they had that money, they wanted to blow it, So the routine was whenever we'd go back to Oklahoma to visit Mom and Dad, the 2 girls would, of course, jump out of the car, go see Grandma and Grandpa. And Dad always had Danny there ready for us to get there. And as soon as I walk in the door, he's ready to go. Let's go. Because he had to go to Walmart to spend some of that money. And he already knew what he wanted to spend it on, whatever it was. So he's telling me, let's go. So I said, all right, Danny, let's go. Let's go to Walmart. And so that was our usual trip. But after, as Michaela said, I came to know the Lord, it began to bother me that, see, Grandpa never went to church. Danny never went to church. My parents didn't go to church. But now as I realized that I wanted to tell Danny about Jesus. I didn't know if I even needed to. I was young in the faith. I didn't know. I wasn't even sure how to do it. I was praying, Lord, I want to tell Danny about you, but how? I don't know how to do it. How is he going to understand? And so that was a prayer for mine for a long time. So we had a trip planned to go back to Oklahoma, and that 4-hour trip, I was praying, Lord, show me how to do this. When Danny's there and we go to Walmart, show me how I can talk to him. So the routine happens. The girls get out. They run in and say hi to Grandma and Grandpa. Danny's there. He's ready to go. Let's go. So, all right. Come on, Danny. Let's go to Walmart. And here's what happened. We get in the car. He's putting on his seatbelt. He clicks the seatbelt, and he looks at me and says, Jesus. And I said, what? He said, Jesus. You know him? I said, me? Yeah, I know Jesus. You know Jesus? He said, he my friend. And I was just blown away. I'm going, what is going on here? And so later when we took him back to the group home, I asked him and I told him what took place. She said, oh yeah, we take him to church every Sunday. They sat on the front row. And Danny heard that he needed to make Jesus his friend. Now get this. He understood it so well that he was worried that I needed Jesus as my friend. That's how simple the gospel is. We make it a whole lot harder than it needs to be. If Danny gets it, everybody should get it. So when I'm asked today, who is Jesus to me? Yes, he's my friend. So, I got to ask you, have you seen enough and heard enough for Jesus to be your friend? Let's stand.